by 2020. The second change which is now taking place, and this is my earnest request to all our students, the world is becoming very harsh. This harshness almost borders on cruelty. There was a time when there was enough space even for mediocrity in society. Today, competition has toughened. Whether it's industry or it's services or it's professions or it's management. And because competition has toughened a lot, those who emerge out of the system, mediocrity would be almost close to frustrating failures. You may not be dumped, but you'll be in the crowd at the difficult. They've risen. And I repeat that the space for mediocrity is narrowing down. It's contracting. And therefore, you have to try to get onto that fast track, and these are the 4, 5, 6 years of your life which will determine which track you are on. It's a bad sign that they do. But once you get onto the fast track, it's immaterial what the financial resources, what the background, what the caste, what the religiosity of your family was. Your ability to reach the top will always be there because there's always space on top. Where the age of grey eminence is over. Your hair don't have to turn grey. You become editors of newspapers when you are in your 30s. You don't have to wait for 55 and 60 to do that. The age of eminence is different. It may be wrong to even call ourselves a developing society at that time. Yet today, they were meant to be very fast track. Because at that time, the primary challenge before the country, the second challenge was that was an age where democracies were tumbling world over. Monarchies were being created, dictatorships were being created, military juntas used to take over. At one stage, almost 2/3 of the world was being ruled, or communist dictatorships were there. Barring that brief period of the mid-70s, the emergency, it goes to the credit of India that we managed to keep the country secure, we managed to prop up our debt. So the reversal of that process has been now been turned as reforms. Economy, once it grows and grows at a faster rate, will it have a great trickle-down effect? And the poor will benefit automatically? A number of people say no, it will never happen. I think the truth is somewhere in the grey area. The trickle-down effect does take place. It is not a complete answer. Any area where institutions have come up, where factories have come up in the rural areas, people get jobs. Housing, today it's expanding beyond cities, getting into rural areas. People are moving from the kind of unacceptable housing that they were living in into better housing, though a large part of India still needs it. So the slow trickle-down effect takes place. Telecom, each one of us had to wait 20 years before getting a phone, so it's trickling down now. It does take place, but it's not a complete answer. The economic model which is now becoming broadly an acceptable model in India is, you need investment in India, you need larger economic activity in India, you need a higher growth rate. Profit is not a bad word. If there is no profit, nobody will invest. People will go outside where there is greater profitability, they'll invest there. And if they earn profit, they'll pay revenue to the state. They'll create jobs. If they don't earn profit, they'll close down and lose jobs. And if a state has greater revenue in its pockets become deeper. So along with the trickle-down effect, the state takes money out of its own deep pockets and then starts the poverty alleviation. And for the kind of poverty alleviation programs that we need in this country, you need almost a double-digit growth rate. So there is no conflict between poverty alleviation and hastening the growth rates. So you take all the necessary steps required to hasten the growth rates. You equally require steps which empower the state financially in order to run the poverty alleviation scheme. So a combination of the trickle-down effect and the special measures for the weaker sections is a combination, and I think barring fringe thought, we are broadly moving in that direction. You need a huge amount of industrialization in this country. Your manufacturing sector must grow. One of the great factors which enabled China's growth was that its manufacturing growth curve was 12 and 14 and 15%. Unless your growth curve goes into that direction, that's where jobs are created, mass jobs are created. That's where people, the 60% people in the agriculture, at least 20 to 30% will leave agriculture, leaving the rest to run agriculture and get into the manufacturing sector. Therefore, if you go to states which have grown faster, which are more industrialized states, you'll see this process slowly taking place. Now that's where you need to banish poverty, create employment opportunities, make India almost a land of opportunities, which is extremely necessary. Now you have, along with this, the problem of inequality, so you have to respect the human being. You have to create a mechanism where standards of life, quality of life, which employment provides to you. Structured employment in India is only available with 18% people. 51% are self-employed in agriculture, retail and other professions. 30% are almost unemployed or underemployed. Therefore, you need India, the inequalities of these areas to come up and get into a state where you need to fight these inequalities. Now, having said that, I think one of the great challenges before India is going to be, we have two huge challenges which require to be fought in this process. And this is what countries, the developed countries in the West, these are the challenges they've not faced. We have serious issues of security as far as India is concerned. Even though I started by saying that the threats to unity and sovereignty are over, and therefore we have to think in terms of growth. Along with growth, you have regions which have developed aspirations. And therefore there is a transformation of the central issue in Indian public life. So unity and sovereignty has been replaced by federal desires. So you actually see federalism in action. Coalition governments are a product of federalism. You find regions which are complaining that we are underemployed, we are underdeveloped. If you actually draw a line midway through India, which passes through the city of Kanpur, you'll actually find a lot of developmental activity taking place on the west of that line. Almost to the east of that line, the developmental activity is significantly less. And that is perhaps an answer to the question, one of our biggest challenges of the Maoist problem has emerged. Now, Maoists are no social reformers. They want to overthrow India's parliamentary democracy and replace it with a communistic pattern of the state. They have no qualms about using violence to do that. They attack police parties, seize arms. The enemy's armory is our armory. I recently read some of their literature, some of their websites carry that. The enemy's armory is our armory. This is what Mao used to say. That's what they follow. But because our development in some of the tribal regions has been inadequate, so you have this whole corridor from the Nepal border right till Telangana. So we are faced with the question how to fight this. Do you only use the military method or do you use an alternate method? Now the real truth is again somewhere in between. It's very easy to say please go in for development, but then to build a school there, to build a welfare center there, to build a road there, the collector and the public works department has to enter there. You can't physically enter as long as the landmines are there. No contractor will work in an environment of extortionism. And therefore you need to take away the violence out of that system. So you will need the police and the military might of the state. You will also need to spend a huge part of our resource on those citizens. It's only on all those regions. It's only a combination of both that will enable us really to reach a situation where we can fight this great menace which is standing in way of our development. The Kashmir issue. Are we aware of how much it has cost us in the last 65 years? I won't go into the details of the issue. Though I feel it's a problem which we created ourselves 65 years ago. But without going into the possible answers to this, Pakistan has never reconciled to Kashmir being a part of India. It tried direct wars, it lost. It tried a proxy war through terror, cross-border terror. It then realized that the might of the Indian state can now fight terror. The world does not accept after 9/11 particularly the profits and benefits of terror. It doesn't allow you to eat up the rewards of terror. Now they've tried other techniques, the stone movement, the stone throwing movement. And it's not a movement, somebody throws a stone, it's an innocuous gesture. You have a crowd of 5,000 people attacking a picket of 5 policemen or military men with 5 stones each. It's as good as using a machine gun. And then you'll say, oh, we were only throwing stones and you were violent on us. And I think India's answer lies in alienating the separatist groups and winning over the people of Kashmir. We must make sure, because once you create a security environment in a state, well-meaning people also get harassed. When I visited the Kashmir Valley as a part of several parliamentary delegations, the best response to me came from students of the Kashmir University. One young lady got up and told the Home Minister, I was sitting next to him, well, I have no difficulty, I am completely an Indian. But when I go to my college, I don't want to be harassed 5 times by the policeman. So the separatists want a Kashmir which is always burning. That's their playfield. In a peaceful Kashmir, they are like fish out of water. They become only Friday evening speakers at religious functions. That's what happened in the past, that's what's happening these days. Fortunately, there's an improved situation. And I think these are all areas which have cost us. So there is one area of national development in terms of unity and integrity and these 2 major threads. There is a second area. And that area is very worrisome to me. And that area is very worrisome to me. I do remember when people ask me, where do you think the biggest threat to Indian democracy comes from? When people ask me, where does the threat to Indian democracy and Indian system come from? Does it come from the security threats? Does it come from the security threats to India, from Maoist forces, from cross-border terrorism? I think we are strong enough. These are challenges, but we can fight them. Does it come from lack of economic development and frustration caused by poverty? It takes some time to build nation states. And I think if we follow the correct economic model over the years to come, we can substantially reduce our poverty.